Now, the MSU Federal Credit Union Coaches Show.
Heading into the holiday season, there is a much different vibe this season compared to last season for the Michigan State men's basketball team. Currently, the Spartans are 9-2, 2-0 in Big Ten play, and ranked number 20 in the latest Associated Press Top 25 poll. Last year, MSU, 11 games in, was 6-5, 0-2 in Big Ten play, and not ranked. Michigan State picked up a win over Nebraska to improve to 2-0 in conference play earlier this month, and it's a start we discussed with head coach Tom Izzo recently.
Well, this time of year compared to last year, you guys are 2-0 in Big Ten play. A little different feeling probably going into the holiday season for this group. But so far through conference play, what have you liked about the way the team has played?
Yeah, you know, it's confusing because you try to compare scores and compare teams, and it used to be so easy to do, and you'd have a good clue, you know, wow, you know, Nebraska beat Creighton at Creighton, and Creighton beat, you know, Kansas. But now teams are so up and down that it feels good that we've been consistent, even in our poor shooting for a while. But we found ways to win games, and you know, we didn't have those 20-point swings one way or another that a lot of teams are having. So that feels good. Trying to figure out where we are yet is a little confusing, but I like the fact that we're doing the things that successful teams do. We're defending, we're rebounding, we're making free throws, we're getting to the line more. We have phenomenal team chemistry right now, and we've been injury-free so far. So all those things are good factors. Last 2-3 games, we're starting to make shots, which is very helpful.
Yeah, he talked a little after the Nebraska win about how this team does have good chemistry. They're getting better together. And they also, you know, it seems very simple probably to some. They like to win. Why is that something that stands out about this group, and why is that important to you?
Well, I think it's one of those things we take for granted. You know, I think we just assume everybody wants to win, just like we assume every player is loving and living the game, you know, and it's not the way it is. I mean, there's so many more distractions now that, you know, would a player rather get this than win? Would he rather do this than win? I think winning has become something you got to find now in recruiting. You know, you got to find people that know how to win and have won. And so I think this team, you know, it's an interesting dynamic because we've had some guys, they've all won. Then you have some of the new guys like Jason and even our freshmen. All of our freshmen have won state championships. So I think winning is a premium here, and I think people shouldn't take that for granted. I think it is a skill now, where it used to be just something people took for granted.
Yeah, it seems like Jackson Kohler's a guy who really enjoys winning. He's always had that emotion to him since his freshman year, but he's definitely taken an extra step this year, especially rebounding. I know a lot of guys coming into this year said he was expected to be kind of the most improved. What have you seen out of him?
Well, remember, he had the injury last year, and that really hurt him. I mean, he was out 2 months, but it hurt him the whole year. And we thought this summer he was, you know, one of our best players, and he's turning out to be that. And you know, and yet I think we have a high ceiling yet, you know, because Jackson's been solid. You know, our bigs are getting better. You know, I mean, Book he's our third leading scorer, and yet he hasn't put a whole game together. He's put a quarter, he put a half. He's gonna do that sooner or later. Just like I said, we're gonna shoot better sooner or later. And Jaden's starting to make shots, and I think Jeremy, coming off his injury, you still see him fall down a lot, and I think because he's had to relearn how to walk and run, you know. And so I see us being able to get better. Whether we'll be able to maintain the level we're playing at, only time will tell.
And Fears accelerates, but blows it tight. Throws it. Oh my gosh! When life gives you lemons, throw it to Cohen Carr.
You talked about Jeremy falling down a little bit. He did that against Nebraska, but it resulted in 2 points, obviously throwing the lob to Cohen. That was probably one of the more impressive lobs or assists you've seen in your career.
Yeah, that ranks right up there in my career, probably in a lot of people's careers. But Jeremy does have a high basketball IQ, and He's tough. Jeremy's getting better too, and gonna get better. But that was a highlight for sure. But as I told Jeremy and I told you guys, a lot of people could throw a lob to Cohen because he can catch anything, no matter where it is in the building, and finish. But it was a great play, and I give him a lot of credit for it.
Yeah, you guys have had a lot of travel opportunities with Spain, Maui, the UP even. How can chemistry off the court just help a group two on the court?
I hope it is some of that, because it has been great. When we were in Spain, they were great. When we were in the UP, they were great. When we were in Hawaii, the guys have been great. I really got lucky. Good group of guys, smart guys, good student guys. And now they're becoming good players, and that's kind of the teams you hope to have here. And so I think it has helped. I think we spend a lot of time together, and I think that's important.
Michigan State has 2 non-conference games remaining this season. On Saturday, the Spartans will host Florida Atlantic here at the Breslin Center. Then on December 30th, they will take on Western Michigan, who is led by Tom Izzo's former assistant, Dwayne Stevens. We need to take a real quick break, and when we come back, we're going to focus more on Izzo and what the last 2 weeks have looked like for him.
When you grocery shop with MSU FCU Cashback Plus, you get cash back. When you buy prescriptions, you get cash back. When you travel, dine out, buy gas, make home improvements, get up to 20% of your hard-earned cash back on your purchases with Cashback Plus. Discover how at msufcu.org/Cashback Plus.
Welcome back to the MSU Federal Credit Union Coaches Show.
After taking down Nebraska on December 7th, the Michigan State men's basketball team had 10 days until its next game, which was this past Tuesday against Oakland. The 10-day break allowed the players to focus on final exams as well as practice, and it also allowed Tom Izzo to make a quick trip to the West Coast. On December 10th, Mark D'Antonio, the all-time winningest coach in Michigan State football history, was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame out in Las Vegas.
He went on to win more games, more Big Ten titles, more bowls, and more wins against our rival Michigan than any other coach in Michigan State University history. He is Coach D, Mark D'Antonio. Mark D'Antonio.
Making the trip out to Vegas was MSU Athletic Director Alan Haller, current MSU football coach Jonathan Smith, and men's basketball coach Tom Izzo.
I was so fortunate, when I started out as an assistant, Nick Saban and I. When I started out as a head coach, it was Nick Saban and I and Mark D'Antonio. I became good friends with Mark because he was at Kansas, and he was good friends with the basketball assistant there, who was a good friend of mine. So there's been this relationship from day one with Mark as an assistant coach, and then when time for him to become the head coach, I thank God got to be on that committee. And so we had something special. I've always said it with my buddy Mariucci, when you have a coach that does the same thing you do in a different venue, it sheds some light. If you just talk to all basketball coaches, everybody's complaining about the same thing. So it really helped that we were yin and yang. We kind of got along well together. We supported each other.
I know he's been around a few times, whether it be football games or basketball games here, but what is your relationship like with him still, even though he's not coaching here anymore?
It's good. We've taken him to NCAA trips with us, to Big Ten tournament trips. He wants to still be involved, and I greatly appreciate that, because having him behind the bench and then talk to him the next day, it's good to have a guy that now is looking at it from the outside in, but knows the inside. That's even more beneficial. So he's been a rock for me.
When Izzo got back from Vegas, his attention turned to MSU's next game, which was a meeting with Oakland at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. The Spartans went on to win the game 77-58 as Izzo improved to 23-0 all-time against Greg Kampe and the Golden Grizzlies. The highlight of Tuesday, though, didn't happen on the court. It happened in the post-game press conference between the two coaches.
Sit down, Camp. You bought the ugliest sweaters I've ever seen, and for the first time in your life, you paid for them, so I'm really happy about
and
that.
The hard part was I didn't want to embarrass him, so I had to buy two, so that I didn't give him a shirt, one that was too small. You know, I gave him a small and I gave him a double, and I knew he was going to wear the double. But
That's what you get, man.
One quick
Thank you,
question.
guys. Yes, sir.
Have you ever seen the coaches wear the exact same shirt that game before? It's the first. It's the first right here at Little Caesars.
Me and Camp, boy, brothers for life.
And they think we're old, right? They think that we can't relate
We're
to these
hip.
young
We should have
kids,
come
right?
up with some real music playing and everything, huh?
You got glasses?
Hell yeah, I got glass.
I'm supposed to, but I don't wear them.
You got Coke bottles that they put in there.
Izzo's holiday spirit continued into the next day at his annual holiday radio show, where he wore this same Grinch Christmas sweater and broke out his accordion. The tradition of Izzo playing the accordion and the freshmen on center stage singing lived on. Other members of the team were there, including Saman Zapala, who had his parents in town from Poland, and they were in attendance Wednesday night. Izzo only knows how to play Christmas songs on his accordion, with Jingle Bells being his favorite, and he made sure to be a little more ready this time around.
I practiced a little more this year and I felt good, and then I still screw up a little bit, but that's kind of the nature of the beast. Nobody ever classified me as an accordion player, but it's just fun to see people happy and enjoying my players, and I think my players enjoyed being here tonight, and that's pretty cool.
It's always a treat when Izzo breaks out the accordion. Now, just before Christmas last year, the Hall of Fame coach received a very scary phone call about point guard Jeremy Fears Jr. being shot in the leg back in his hometown of Joliet, Illinois. After the break, we're going to be sitting down with Fears to talk more about his road to recovery.
I love getting out and trying new things, but my seizures have always kept me back. Thankfully, the providers and researchers at MSU Healthcare work together to get my epilepsy under control. So now I can try anything.
At MSU Healthcare, helping you do you is what matters most to us. In fact, it's our mission. Visit healthcare.msu.edu to find a provider.
Welcome back to the MSU Federal Credit Union Coaches Show.
The news last year that Jeremy Fears Jr. had been shot during the Christmas break was very stunning for a lot of the Michigan State fan base. Next week will mark 1 year since the shooting occurred, and our Tyler Driesinga recently sat down with Fears to discuss more about his road to recovery, as well as the gratitude he has of being back in the Spartan lineup.
We first sat down with Jeremy Fears on the Coaches Show around this time last year. We discussed how he was settling into life at MSU and how his experience with USA basketball and on the elite AAU circuit had prepared him to make an immediate impact for the Spartans.
I think just being a winner. You know, everything that I do wants to win, so I really think that's what drives me. And, you know, I always want to make the right play and do the right thing, so that really helps too.
His whole freshman season was in front of him. But just a few weeks after that interview, everything changed.
MSU Athletics released a statement earlier today saying freshman point guard Jeremy Fears is recovering after being shot in the leg.
Fears was home over the Christmas holiday and was at a friend's house when a man entered the home and started shooting. Fears and a young woman were shot, both suffering non-life-threatening injuries. Fears was shot in the thigh and had surgery later that day. His season was over, and the months ahead were filled with grueling rehab.
What were some of the hardest parts of that recovery process, and what were some of the biggest things that you learned during those months where you put on a good face every time we saw you at practice and at games you had a big smile, but I'm sure it was difficult for you?
Definitely not playing. Obviously wanting to be out there with my brothers and helping them, and obviously we had some rough stretches last year, and I just feel like I would be able to help and bring some energy, some toughness to that group last year. But really just, not being able to play and having to do rehab every day. Just knowing I'm coming in and I'm doing rehab, but just also still looking at it at the greater picture that, eventually I'll be good and be back playing and just keep working, keep getting better. And, you know, my family helped a lot too.
Were there moments of doubt or you know, where you were wondering if it was ever going to get to where you were hoping it would get to?
No, not for real. I mean, every week I'll get better, and you know, week by week I can see a little improvement, and maybe I can walk a little faster or walk straight, like just little things like that that just gave me hope, and you know, that everything was fine.
The NCAA granted Fears a medical waiver for a red shirt. He began this season with a fresh start and was ready to go for the season opener.
It's a journey, you know. Stuff happens to people unexpectedly that you wouldn't know, but that it's a journey and that we're still here and we're still moving and pushing forward.
Fears has started every game so far this season and has shown an ability to impact the game in a variety of ways, including making highlight reel passes like this sitting alley-oop to Cohen Carr.
Throws it. Oh my gosh!
How many times have you rewatched that in the days since?
Actually, I haven't watched it a lot, but I've seen it come down my feed, so every time I see it, I'll watch it. But other than that, you know, it was a good play. Got Cohen some points, got some energy going through the Breslin, but really it's a good play. It happened. We got to move on and try to get another win. That's the mindset for me.
In addition to his passing, his defense has drawn rave reviews from his head coach. After Tuesday's win over Oakland, Tom Izzo even went so far as to say Fears' defense on DQ Cole in the second half was the biggest reason the Spartans won.
I thought he won us the game just because of the job he did on Cole, and he asked for him at halftime, and I said sure, and that was the difference in the game.
You came here hoping to be the starting point guard at Michigan State and lead this program to some special things, and even with the roadblock last year, you know, you're doing it. Here you are, the starting point guard for a team that's ranked in the top 25. As you kind of reflect on that, just how grateful are you to be in the position that you're in right now?
Really grateful, you know. Who knows what route it could have went last year and what all was coming back. So, you know, we could have hit the portal and got any other point guard in the country or something. But Coach trusted me, and I trust Coach, and he stuck with me. And it's just another family aspect of this program. And can't really ask for nothing more. And this was always a dream of mine. So being able to make it happen, I have no reason not to go out there on the court every day and play as hard as I can.
Fears says the recovery process reinforced what he already knew about the men's basketball program here at Michigan State. It's a family, and everyone is going to be there for you through the hard times, which includes Xavier Booker, who was a part of Fears' recruiting class last season. We're going to sit down with the sophomore forward right after the break.
Welcome back to the MSU Federal Credit Union Coaches Show.
During his freshman season last year, Xavier Booker played in 27 games, but had to get used to not seeing the minutes he had been used to prior to coming to Michigan State. Now, as a sophomore this season, Booker understands his role a whole lot more, and as our artist Sharian McBroom shares with us, Booker is excelling in that role with the help of his family.
For Xavier Booker, what started as a way to connect with his older siblings has led him to places he never imagined. And to this day, one of his main motivations is making his brothers proud.
We all were competitive back in the day. My brothers are a lot older than me, so I was always the little one trying to compete with them, but they gave me a hard time, but then that just builds characters.
From Kansas City, in which he spent his early years, to his family's move to Indianapolis, there were always three things he could depend on: basketball, the structure his father provided, as well as the lessons he provided, being a 27-year veteran of the Marine Corps.
It's kind of making sure that I have everything in check. I'm waking up on time, being early to places, just taking care of my business. That's the main thing my dad always preaches on, just making sure I take care of my business. My business is the number one thing, whether that's on the court, school, stuff, NIL stuff, just business stuff in general, just making sure I'm taking care of my business first.
How has your family kind of shaped you into kind of not only the player, but the man you are today?
I mean, just staying on me consistently. And I think the main thing is just help me through hard times. Obviously, my first time experiencing something hard, I obviously didn't know how to react to it. It's my first time, but they did a good job with me just being there for me and just telling me to stay positive through it all. And I mean, they just told me everything's not going to go my way in life. Life is going to be hard. A lot of challenges are going to come your way, but if you just find a way to stay positive and make your way through those challenges and build off of those challenges instead of letting them tear you even further down. That was the main, I guess, like word my parents gave to me. So.
Not a lot of players are ready for kind of the standard that is Michigan State. How did you kind of decide that this was the place for you?
I mean, I took a lot of visits around the country, and I heard a lot of coaches pitch and trying to get me to go there. A lot of schools, it kind of just sounded like they kind of wanted me for the program. And just saying like you'd be a great fit for our program. But when I came here, I had a great conversation with Coach, and it kind of, I mean, obviously every coach wants you for the program, but Coach, it sounded like he actually cared about me as a player and actually cared about developing me as a player and as a young man. So that's kind of why the main reason I got here. And Coach was straight up with me when he got here, or when I went on the visit. He said, "I'm going to be nice to you now, but I'm not going to be that way when you get here." So that kind of stuck out to me, and that's kind of ultimately what made me choose here.
You kind of got to get used to playing for a historical basketball program like Michigan State. You have to get used to playing for one of the best coaches in college basketball history, Coach Tom Izzo. How would you say your transition was from that first year to that second year?
Coming in as a freshman, I knew it wasn't going to be easy. I knew I had a lot to learn, and when I got here, I was pretty much spot on. I mean, it was hard at first. Obviously, just being to a new environment, being around a lot of new players, the game is different, pace is faster, guys are way more physical. Kind of just an adjustment, just playing throughout the whole year, learning game by game, just getting adapted to the college system. And then the transition from my freshman year to sophomore year, I think I've improved in a lot of ways. I think I've got a better feel for the game now in terms of physicality, pace, just making different reads on defense and offense, and just my feel for the game is I feel a lot more comfortable when I'm on the floor now.
Coach Tom Izzo demands a lot from his players, and Booker feels he has risen to the challenge.
It's not easy hearing from Coach and hearing him get on you every time, but I know it's for a good cause, and I know he wants to. He's looking out for us at the end of the day.
The game itself is enough to excite Booker every time he steps out on the hardwood, but he says the Izzo student section gives home court advantage a whole new meaning.
I mean, it's like no other. Breslin, it's always getting loud, especially when you make energizing plays. That place, you can't even really hear yourself talking in there. I mean, it's a great atmosphere every night, no matter who we play. So shout out to the fans for sure.
What do you think has been your biggest motivation throughout your career, not just here at Michigan State, but just in general? What do you think has been your biggest motivation, whether it just be yourself, family, etc.?
I would say my goals, the places I'm trying to get to in life, whether that's, obviously I want to get to the NBA, but just kind of looking past that. I'm not going to play basketball forever, and I know that I'm going to have to eventually find something to do. So kind of that's my motivation. And then my family's my motivation too. They motivate me every day. They send me texts every day, positive things every day. So those are my motivation.
Tom Izzo said after the win over Oakland on Tuesday, Booker continues to get better each day, and ever since the team's trip to Maui last month, Booker has been practicing a whole lot better. As a result, the sophomore forward had a career-high 18 points against the Golden Grizzlies. That is going to be it for this week's show. As always, we hope you enjoyed. We are going to be off the next 2 weeks, but we'll be back this second week in 2025. And before we go, our play of the week comes from the Michigan State women's basketball team in their win over Iowa this past Sunday.
Now, the play of the week, sponsored by Schupan & Sons.
Olsen drives. Olsen denied. Simmons with a huge defensive play.
In a top 25 matchup, Michigan State would take down Iowa 68-66. With under 40 seconds to play in the game, Iowa had the ball down 3, and Michigan State's Jaden Simmons came up with a huge block to help the Spartans pull out the victory. Michigan State improved to 10-0 with the win over the Hawkeyes and moved up to number 15 in the latest Associated Press Top 25 poll.
As a foster parent, you help a child reach their goals.
You make a game-changing assist.
You give a child the home advantage.
And you do it because you know every child deserves a special team.
Ready to cheer on a child? Take the first step to become a foster parent today.
When you grocery shop with MSU FCU Cashback Plus, you get cash back. When you buy prescriptions, you get cash back. When you travel, dine out, buy gas, make home improvements, get up to 20% of your hard-earned cash back on your purchases with Cashback Plus. Discover how at msufcu.org/cashback plus.